Dreamcatchers. This is part 2 of my conversation with executive producer, author, entrepreneur, Evolyn Brooks. We're talking about her book. Her name is Cranberry. Well, let's talk about another facet of your story. Who is Cranberry? Let's talk about Cranberry.
Okay, so Cranberry, the book is called Her Name is Cranberry. And I named the book Cranberry because when I received the cancer diagnosis, the doctor said it was the size of a cranberry. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to roll with that because it made it less scary and it allowed me to kind of like decide how I wanted to tell myself this story, build this story, move through this situation in my life. And so in that moment, I decided that I am going to choose how I move through this experience. And the first thing I decided was that I'm going to live. I knew, because in my mind, I felt like if I was able to get an early diagnosis, if I learned about it early, that means that God wants me to be here. So, you know, figure out what this situation is here to teach you. I didn't look at it like I'm going to, oh my God, I'm going to die. I thought, everything that's ever happened in my life was for my growth. It always took me to another level of humanity, not just towards myself, but just in general, And I said, okay, well, let's see what this is here for. And so I will call it Cranberry. And so a lot of times when you hear people and they're like, F cancer or whatever, I just thought, okay, well, let me look at it in a way where it has something to teach me. It's here for a reason. And let's approach it from that point of view.
When did you decide to write the book?
So the book has always been there, but there was a sense of urgency probably about 6 months ago where I felt like it's time to write this story because I see a lot of people that are struggling with challenges in their lives. And a lot of times they don't necessarily know that you don't have to let it take you under. You know what I mean? That it's everything is here to help you grow, to help you evolve. And if you can stay in the present moment with it, you know what I mean?
Just kind of sit in it.
Not sit in it in a negative way, like, oh, woe is me.
Right.
But just try not to run from it. A lot of times when we're going through things, we don't want to feel the pain. We don't want to feel the sadness. We don't want to feel the fear. We don't want to feel our human emotions. And so as long as you try to escape the emotions that you feel, you're going to constantly have experiences that are putting you back in the situation where you have to kind of feel it. Like, we're human. We have emotions. We're here to feel. We're here to feel joy. We're here to feel pain and sadness. The key, I discovered, was to allow it to go through you and out. It's not to, like, let it come in and stay and, like, feel it and let it go. Feel it, let it go. And then that way, it's not able to really take root. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like when we ruminate on things and this happened and this boy did this to me and you know what I mean? It's like if I had really like kind of held on to what happened to me at 17, all of the other blessings that were in store for me would not have been able to get through because my anger would not have allowed them to come through because I would have been so focused on what this person did to me that I wouldn't have been able to receive the gifts that came as a result of going through that experience. So,
And that's why what you say about forgiveness just plays a really, really big part in propelling you forward in whatever it is that you're purposed to do on this planet.
Yes.
Because if you sit in it, and I'm going to use the negative way of sitting in it, and not allowing that anger to, having the anger so it doesn't allow things to pass through it the way that you described it, you're really missing out on some real blessings in life. So that's so true. Yeah. That's so true. So, as I mentioned, you go really, really deep in this book. You mentioned that in finding your strength, it had a foundation that was laid with Aunt Elvira. That's a really cool auntie to have, Aunt Elvira. And that was the foundation of you having that strength and that connection, that horizontal connection to God, which also allows you to have a vertical connection with the people around you, because in that connection with Him, you're able to forgive, you're able to let go of pain and fear and hurt that other people visit upon you.
Right.
So, in writing the book and getting past, and I use the word anger, I don't know if that's the right word.
There was anger.
But as it relates to your mom, and then you took care of her until she died at a pretty young age too, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting, and it's like when I look at my life and certain pivotal moments, I really see how I had to release whatever that was to be able to kind of move forward, and my mother was definitely interwoven into so many moments in my life. It's like, I cherished her, as a young age.
You dedicated the book to your mom and your dad.
I did. I said my mother and father, they are my greatest teachers. And everything that they were not able to work out and everything that they went through, it allowed me to look at, relationships and see that they were doing the best that they could, based on what they knew at the time. And when my mother and I, when I was younger, it was like she wanted the best for me. If there was a ballet class, an acting class, or whatever, she had me there. She was always rooting for me. And I think that moment when she was upset that I opened the door, I think that also was her pain showing through, because she could not protect me. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, instead of, maybe she didn't know to hold me. You know what I mean? Maybe she was angry too, and so she was angry. Who knows? Yeah. But I think there was, I recognize as a grown woman now that sometimes you don't have the correct emotional response because you don't know how. Yeah. And so, but we were estranged for many years, and then she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, it was shocking because, like, my mother ran marathons. Like, she was physically fit and all of those things. But, we now know that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's good to be healthy. You actually, when you go through chemo or radiation or whatever, the healthier you are, the easier it is for you to go through it. But it was a shock, and she didn't tell anyone. And so by the time I found out, in retrospect, she had 6 months left to live. Wow. And so she lived in New York. And so I went and got her. And I brought her to Toledo. And that's when I was a reporter and an anchor and the whole 9 yards. Whew, and that was a shift. That was another moment where, having to take care of her. And then I was still going out and reporting a story. And then we worked it out, it was not pretty, but we got to really, really work it out. And, I knew the moment that she was about to transition,
You were with her?
Yeah, I was there. She was in my home. I had hospice come in. It's like till the very end, I was there when she literally,
breathed her
last breath. Yeah. And then after that happened, that shifted, she was able also to come to that special I did. So, and she was very ill. And she surprised me and came. That was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful memory.
Yeah.
But then that experience did something to me. It shifted my heart. It made me more compassionate. Because at that point, until that point, I had never really had like a personal loss. You know, I'd never lost I didn't know my grandparents or anything like that. So I had never had a loss. And losing my mother, as, you know, it's like by the time I lost her, we had just gotten back together. So that was so hard.
And you only had the 6 months.
We only had 6 months. And then after that, it was just hard for me to put a microphone in someone's face and ask them how they felt without any compassion anymore. You know what I mean? It changed my heart.
What do you mean without compassion?
What I mean is, you know, as a young reporter, we were all kind of after the same story. You know what I mean? It's like you were in a race to get the story, to get back to the station, to cut it, to get it on air, to be first. And you were always trying to find a good source, someone who could talk, you know, whether it was, you know, a family member, whether it was an eyewitness or whatever it was. We were relentless about getting someone on tape to talk about it, you know, whatever that story was. And so sometimes, and I see it, you know, to this day, where it's kind of like, you know, you see where it's not the most opportune time. If someone's, you know, at the scene, they just lost someone and they're crying, they're hysterical, and then here you are with a microphone asking,
doing your job.
You're doing your job, but I just wanted, after going through that experience, I just felt like, and it's funny, it all kind of aligned with really trying to get to the heart of why people are experiencing pain and challenges, and how do you move through it as opposed to just capturing the surface of it.
Yeah.
How
do you go in deeper?
I wanted to go deeper after that. I wanted to go, you know, I wanted to help people as opposed to just capture their pain.
Right.
I wanted to help them heal their pain.
Yeah. So is that where the self-discovery through DIY came into play? So
it's interesting, you know, working in television. You know, we worked, you know, long hours. And so I, you know, had the ability to go to a spa and, you know, get massages and things like that, you know, just to help you relax.
Yeah.
And so I just started to think about, like, wow, you know, I'm able to do this, but so many people are not. And then I started to think about, but it's not even really the physical aspect of it. It's the emotional healing. That's the thing that kind of helps you move through transitions in your life. And so I started my company called In My Solitude because I felt that it is when you take the time for yourself, it is when you are in solitude, when you meditate, when you journal, when you get your massage or whatever it is, it's when you carve out time for you to really, you know, feel better, find ways to kind of connect with yourself and then connect with your higher power. That is when you're able to grow, push through, like whatever it is that you need to do. You have to take that time. You have to take some time for solitude.
So that was in response to your going about the work of being a journalist, sticking the mic in people's face, and feeling like, you know what, there's something missing, or there's something more. There's a purpose in me that is driving me to want to really help these people, not just tell the surface level of their story. I love the way you said that, but to just really have empathy and want to do something about seeing that pain that was in front of you. And so you, because you're such an entrepreneur, you started this company in my solitude, and now you have your products and you have workshops, and you're doing this all over the country.
Yes.
And so would you say that that is a transition into another part of who you are, another part of your story? Are you still doing, well, yeah, you are still doing the journalism and the executive producing stuff, but this is a higher power, if you will, of who you are and where you are in your life.
Yeah, so here's the thing that kind of propelled me to start In My Solitude, to write the book and all of that. And so it goes back to when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was talking to my surgeon. And, you know, the one question you always ask whenever something happens is like, why me? Why did this happen? And so she said something to me that I thought was really profound. She said, well, you decide that. You decide what it means. And I thought that was a very, very powerful thing. And I decided that, okay, well, I can look at my life and I can see many successes, and I can also see moments of tragedy, but I was also able to move through them. And I thought, well, that's valuable. That's valuable because that's human, and we all go through things. But there are many people that are not able to figure out how to get past this, how to get past that, how to get unstuck. And I just felt like I want to share my story. I want to share these moments in my life to show that nothing that happens to you has to stop you. Nothing. No matter how terrible it may be or how bad you may feel, it doesn't have to stop your life unless you decide that it's going to stop your life. And so that's just a message that I wanted to share. And then the workshops came about because I was like, okay, well, now I want to share, but I want to show you. You know, I want to show you the steps. And people would ask me about my story and, you know, how, like I came out with, I created a candle line that gives you the steps of the Journey candle collection, how to kind of move through obstacles. And so I was just like, well, I think I want to write it because then it'll be something like maybe you can't come to a workshop, and so you can order it. And then I wanted to, you know, I made the book small and mighty because I want everyone to be able to afford it. You know what I mean? I have many more books to write. But this one, I wanted to write it for everyone so that it was accessible to everyone. Because no matter where you are in your journey, we all have things that trip us up. And I just wanted people to understand that you have to visualize and imagine yourself on the other side of it, and then somehow God just pulls you through. It's like in little moments, little points along the way. Don't always look for the big picture, the big story. You don't know how it's going to all come together. Half the things that happen in my life, I don't know how it's going to all come together, or you know what I mean? But I try to stay in the present moment. I try to do the message thing that I hear. And that's why I meditate and I pray, because that's where you can hear. And then it's like sometimes I don't know what the next thing to do. And then I'll just get quiet, I'll meditate, and I'll listen. And then I'll hear, I believe that it's God's voice say, call this person, do this. And then just do that one thing. You don't have to know everything to start. So those are some of the things that I put in the book. Because it should be something that everyone has access to know that you get to decide how your journey will turn out. If you believe that you want to be here, that, you know what I mean? And sometimes,
and how you want to be
and
here.
how you want to be here. No one else has the right to change your story unless you allow them to, no matter what it is that happens.
Or write your story.
Or write your story. And everyone's story is important. Mm-hmm. Everyone's story matters. You know, my story matters, your story matters. Everyone's story matters. And sometimes when things happen to us that we feel bad about or we feel shame about, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, then you allow it to change you and to make you feel that you're less than because this happened. Mm-hmm. And so when I tell you what happened, I take that off the table. You can't make me feel shame about anything that's happened if I own the story. If I tell you, this happened to me, but this is how I moved through it, and this is where I am now, and if I can do it, then you can do it, regardless of what your story is. So.
Wow, that is so incredibly powerful. Very, very powerful. And I know that in writing the book and sharing not just the details of your story, more so it's sharing your inspiration, having had that be your story, all of it. All of it. And just allowing that to continue to inspire you as it inspires others and propelling you to furthering your greatness.
Well, you know, the thing is that I think there is also something about the timing. You know what I mean? And the timing is not just my timing or God's timing, but like just looking at the world, right? And looking at what's happening with women and looking at, you know, Me Too and just all of these things where like there's a shift in terms of, you know, we are taking ownership of our stories and using them to teach and learn from other women because there's so much that we have to offer as women. And sometimes when things happen to us, we allow those incidents to take away our power instead of using those incidents to get stronger. Because if I own it, if I don't run away from what happened, if I'm not afraid, if I am not diminished by it, then there's nothing that I can't accomplish. And so I know that there are young girls, 17, 15, older, younger, women, you know, there's someone, as we're talking, you know, the statistics are crazy. So, but I just want, you know, young women, young men, you know, whenever you're going through anything that could be viewed as such, know that you own your body, you own your story, you own your life, and you can decide that, you know what, I am going to take this situation and I am going to heal from it. I'm going to be stronger for it, and I'm going to use it to help someone else.
Yeah. What message do you have for those living with a cranberry?
I would say that the most important thing is to decide, no matter what the doctor says, you know, whether they say it's terminal, whether they say you have, you know, a lifetime, 6 weeks, whatever, you know, because we're all going to leave this planet eventually. But when someone gives you a cancer diagnosis, it just brings your mortality into perspective, right? And so the thing that I think is most important is that you decide for yourself that you're going to live, however long that is, and how you're going to live, how you're going to be, right? Don't let other people tell you how to be. Be
Your authentic self.
Your authentic self. Like, enjoy your life, your time, your moments each day. Do exactly what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, like, you start to see that so many things you take for granted in life. Like, when someone says, oh, you may not be here, a bird sounds different. Because you think, I may never hear that bird again.
Right.
Or the smell of grass. Yeah. You know, or the color of the sky. You start to realize everything is important. Mm-hmm. Sitting and having a conversation with, you know, your niece or your brother or your family, you're present. Mm-hmm. And so what I learned from that experience is to be present. It doesn't matter how much time we have. It's how we're using the time in front of us in this moment. Mm-hmm. Are you present? Are you present to your family? Are you present to your spouse? Are you present to your children? Are you present in the way that matters the most to you in life?
From the wellness expert that you are, amongst other titles that you have that make you the phenomenal woman that you are. Thank you so much for joining us in the Haven and sharing your story and your life's work and just being the inspiration that you are.
Thank you so much.
So glad to call you
You're
friend.
So easy to talk to. Oh my God, I was so nervous. I really was, but it was wonderful. And just thank you for having me. And I really appreciate the opportunity to really talk to you.
Dream Catchers, I know you enjoyed this segment of our show. It is part 2 of a great, great conversation with a dear, dear friend. And tune in for more of our award-winning shows as we talk to songwriters, writers of literature, playwrights, filmmakers about their craft of writing. Stay tuned, and until next time, catch fire on purpose.
I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.